Okay, thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, to Buddhism class. We're exploring Buddhist rituals, and we're going to get into our usual meditation. So I know we do it over and over again, but we can never do it enough. And in actual fact, it's a meditation we should be doing every day. So just choosing your comfortable seat and placing 2 feet on the ground if you're sitting in a chair, or if you're sitting cross-legged, that's also fine. And let us just enjoy 3 soothing deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and slowly exhaling it out the nostrils. Let's do that again. Last big breath in through the nose. Opening your mouth, gently sigh the breath out. And coming now to a natural breath. So this is a imagination exercise, a visualization. We imagine the presence of a holy being that is welcome in your space. I say to my atheist friends, if you don't believe in holy beings, then just imagine your highest self possible, that your highest mind has arrived, okay? For some of us that are religious or have a religious spiritual background, it could be your guides, it could be an angel, it could be a religious icon, might even be George Harrison, could be anyone for you that you think is an enlightened being, your guru, your teacher, maybe your gran. Choosing that being and inviting their energy into your space, and you can see them perhaps in your mind, and you've made a special, comfortable place for them. And the first step is to take refuge and prostrate. So in our minds, we bow down to them, and we do not worship them in Buddhism, but we adore them. We adore their qualities. We adore what they stand for, and we take refuge in their teaching, in who they are, and in the spiritual communities that they may have created. When you invite a special holy person or anybody into your home, you then make them an offering. So you imagine whatever kind of offering that you would like to give them. It could be a beautiful cup of tea. It could be your favorite dish. It could be flowers. It could be a memory or a beautiful place in your mind. We make them an offering, imagined. And this really strengthens our karmic connection to them. They don't need fancy things, but we need the karma to be able to gain our own enlightenment. And one way to do that is by imagining offering holy beings beautiful things. And it doesn't have to be material. It can be the fact that you do your meditation, the fact that you do your yoga, and that you help others, and that's your practice. The next is, the third part is to purify negative karma. So we think about any sort of negative stuff that's been going on in the last week or so, negative energy. Maybe we open the door to something unwholesome that we don't really want in our mind space or in our life. And we feel a sense of regret for allowing that to happen. And it somehow hurt us or hurt somebody else. It's just kind of non-beneficial behavior. body, speech, or your thoughts, things we may have said. We feel a sense of regret. We apply the 4 powers. Regret, we regret. That was sort of a dumb thing to do, I guess. It's not guilt, it's regret. We decide we won't do it again. Refuse, I regret, and then I refuse. And we might do it again. So set yourself a time period if you feel like you're not going to stick to that vow, because there's nothing worse than breaking a promise. And then we take refuge again. So the holy being that's with us, we say, I actually need a bit of help in purifying this problem. Do you mind? Sort of a higher power assistance. I surrender to you and how you can help me. And finally, we apply a remedy. So it's regret, refusal, refuge, and remedy. What is the antidote? How can we fix whatever we've done, perhaps, or change a behavior into a more beneficial one? The 4th part of this meditation is to rejoice, to be happy, to think of something wonderful that you've done recently and celebrate this with your holy being. Imagine that they are so pleased with you, that you're aligned with them and their values and their principles and their teachings, and that you have conducted yourself accordingly, that aligns with your values and the things that you'd like to see in your life and in the world. We celebrate those beautiful things. I'm so happy this happened. I was part of it. I rejoiced in the goodness of others. I saw other people doing good things and I was happy. I made a point of doing good things for myself, whether I was eating better, whether I was exercising a bit more, meditating a bit more, all of these things I can rejoice in, all these wonderful, constructive, beneficial behaviors I'm happy for. Coming to class, thinking of all those good things that have been happening throughout the week, moments of gratitude and appreciation. Okay, lovely. Then the 5th part is to ask the holy being that we've invited to stay in our lives. And as I said before, if you don't believe in holy beings, it could be your higher mind. Please stay in my life. So I can feel your presence. And number 6, I ask you to please turn the wheel of the Dharma, which means, can you please continue to teach me in many ways? Not just from a direct teacher, but from books, from moments in life that you have realizations from. Might be something you've seen in a movie. And we learn in the most amazing ways, don't we? And it requires mindfulness to be able to see these things in our lives. The holy deity that you invited into your space today slowly begins to get smaller. They shrink. They are in essence a being of light, so it's very easy for them to change shape. They become the size of your thumb, And they fly to the top of your crown, and they face the same way that you do. And slowly they enter into your crown chakra and move through the central column, the Sushumna Nadi, past the Ajna, your third eye, past the throat chakra, the Vishuddha, and they come to rest at your heart space in the center of your chest, your Anahata chakra, where you have made a beautiful home, a little sanctuary for them, very comfortable little space in your heart. And they will shine and stay there for the rest of today, as long as you can imagine them there. They will be there, radiating healing and empowerment right throughout your entire being. And we end this practice with a beautiful deep breath in, and then breathe it out. And gently opening the eyes. Okay, nice little meditation. Are there any questions or comments about the meditation? Hi, Kyla. Ah, there's Kyla. Wow, what a nice surprise. Good to see you.
Good to
Welcome.
see you too.
Yeah.
Finally had a Saturday where I can join.
Oh, fabulous. That's so nice. Good. Are you teaching yoga on Saturdays?
A lot of the time, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome. Well, that's good. Otherwise, we just pop the little link in the chat in the group, and then people can always catch up on video. I know there's quite a few people also, but it's so lovely to have people in the session live. So it's very, very awesome. We've been talking about Buddhist refuge, and we've just been really starting our journey with these, with this process of Tibetan rituals. And we've been talking about refuge and prostrations, right? That the Tibetans do this prostration thing. I'm sure you've seen it. And they say a prayer as they do it, you know. I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, right? The Buddha, the Dharma is the teaching, and the Sangha is the spiritual community, so that I may attain enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. Please purify. Oh, it actually goes, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Please purify my body, my speech, and my mind at the heart, so that I may attain enlightenment. And you go down and you bow, and as you come up, for the sake of all sentient beings. Okay, that's the prostration. And you do that 3 times. I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And I mean, if you're a Christian or a Hindu, you could say, I take refuge in like Jesus, the Bible, and the church, right? It doesn't have to be Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. You know, I always think that these principles can be used in any religion, because Buddhists believe that most holy spiritual leaders in the past were probably Buddhas. You know, we, as a Buddhist, I believe that someone like Jesus would have been a Buddha, or if not a Buddha, a very high level bodhisattva, which is approaching Buddhahood. Okay. So that's the cool thing about Buddhism, is we don't like say, my Buddha is better than your Buddha, you know. We see everybody in the world that taught spirituality as an enlightened being, as long as they were teaching about ethics, about morality, about kindness and loving kindness, right? And non-violence, and also wisdom, some wisdom teachings, right? Do unto others as you would like them do to you, right? That is a wisdom teaching that is imbued with compassion. So that would be the teachings of, say, an enlightened being. And in fact, in Buddhism, once you reach higher levels of realization, you realize that everybody around you is an enlightened being. It's just that we all have some sort of, we don't know we have that potential. But a Buddha sees your potential. And a Buddha, when they look at you, they go, oh, here's an enlightened being that hasn't realized that they are enlightened yet, you know? So that's how they see everything and everyone, even dogs and cats and all beings on all planets, okay? So when we take refuge, we are taking refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha, who the Buddha was, and it's not the Buddha's body, right? It's the fact that the Buddha is empty, the fact that we can be a Buddha because we are empty, right? I am not Mark because Mark will change, Mark will die, and there won't be a Mark anymore. So who am I? I exist from life to life because I have awareness, I have consciousness, and science tells us that consciousness cannot be killed, consciousness cannot die. Whether you believe that or not, that's fine. But just to think that I have a life now, if I'm an atheist, surely the chances of me having another life are pretty good. You know, it's like if you throw dice so many times, you're going to get a double six at some time, you know. So if you got life now, then what are the chances of you having life again? Pretty good. Pretty good. Even if you don't believe in in rebirth and reincarnation. Chances are good because you got life now. That's my reasoning. So who's to say that you have never ever not been alive, that you've always been alive in many different shapes or forms? Okay, obvious. For me, it's obvious, but sit with it, grapple with it. I'm not trying to sell it to you. Buddhism believes in reincarnation, believes that we've had infinite lives, and that we can jump off the cycle of being born, of, you know, aging, getting sick, and dying. We can jump out of that and feeling, you know, feeling sad. We can get out of all of this suffering. So the prostrations, I started this practice, full length prostrations, in, where was it? Where did I start? In India, when I became a Buddhist in 1999. And it was very special because they give you like a board, like a wooden board. It's not a surfboard. It's like a wooden plank. And then you get these special gloves. And your teacher says, okay, good luck. Now you're going to do 100,000 of prostrations. You're like, what did you say? I thought you said 100,000. Did you not mean 100? No, 100,000. It's called chabum in Nepalese. You're like, holy shit. Well, that'll take me a week or so. And then you realize that it takes you an hour to do 100. It takes you an hour to do it like 100 at a reasonable pace, okay? Plus the opening prayers and closing prayers. It's like an hour's meditation. And now you're thinking, wow, how many hours is that then to do 100,000? Well, I must say, I got really fit because I was doing 6 hours a day, just prostration. And as I'm doing them, you're imagining all your gurus, the teachings, and the holy community, the Sangha, and then in your mind, and then you're reciting, you know, the prayer, Dangpal Den Lama Dampa Den Den Nam Lak Kyab Sucho for the gurus, Sangye Cho Den Den Nam Lak Kyab Sucho for the Buddhas, for the Yidams, Yidam Kilko Gila Sog Den Den Nam Lak Kyab Sucho, and then for the 5 Buddha families, Gyawa Loku Sog Den Den Nam Lak Kyab Sucho, and then for the Dharma in teaching, Dampe Cho Den Den Nam Lak Kyab Sucho. And as you're saying it, you're doing a prostration. And then for the Chenrezi and the Bodhisattvas, Pakpe Gendun Den Den Nam Lak Kyab Sucho, and then you go to the Dharma protectors, Chokyong So Metzok Geshe Kichintang Den Den Nam Lak Kyab Sucho. And you do that, over and over again, and you keep visualizing the blessings of the lineage coming to you. So it's a practice that you keep on invoking blessings from the lineage. And we spoke last week about how being part of a lineage is like being plugged into an electrical current. You know, we spoke about certain teachers. You don't know who their teachers are. And I'm always dubious and suspicious of those teachers. You know, whenever I read a book, I'm like, okay, have they given some kind of reference to who taught them? And if they didn't, I'd put the book down and I don't open it. Not to say that the book won't be good. I just don't feel an affinity with a teacher that does not give credit to their teachers. Okay. And I mean, yeah, a lot of you are teachers in your own right. And you've had beautiful teachers, and I know who your teachers are, you know, so it's always wonderful to not worship, but to adore them, to sort of be respectful for them and honor them. And I said last week that my personal guru, he used to write books, and the books that he published didn't have his name on it. He put his guru's name on it, you know, that was the level of his devotion. So whatever money he made, whatever proceeds he made from books, he would give to his teacher. Right? Beautiful. His teacher didn't even know it. Said, you know, Lama Ken Rinpoche, I published this book. It's, you know, it's all the stuff you taught me. And then like Rinpoche was like, oh, okay, thank you. Very nice. Well done. So I imagine doing 100,000 prostrations. I actually finished them. I actually did them and I finished them. Yeah, I think I sort of damaged my knees and my back in the process, but everything's come right now. But it was pretty grueling. I remember at times my hands would bleed, and the Tibetans actually have calluses on their forehead that sometimes stay for life because they bow down so much. If you visit India and Nepal, has anyone seen the Tibetans doing prostrations in the streets? In the street, right into the cow poo, and they literally will circumambulate holy sites, and they will have a callus on their forehead because of the amount of times that they bow their head down to the ground. Isn't that interesting? It's quite a tough practice, but it's like yoga, you know. It's the teachers give you this preliminary practice to do because they say that there's a lot of energy in the body. It's like a little mini Surya Namaskar, actually, you know, and there's actually, we know as yogis, there's so much in Surya Namaskar, right? So the prostration is a mini form of that, and it really does work on the chakras, and you feel amazing, like after you've done 100 prostrations. I would seriously recommend it, you know, like go to Virgin Active, take your, you know, they've got those smooth floors. You're chanting really loud, you're doing your thing, and everyone's like, what the hell is this person doing? Okay, don't go to Virgin Active. But yeah, if you want to get into if you want to get into it, I can always help you. It's a really great practice, okay? But it's tough. It's really tough. So your life changes, right? It's a purification practice too. It's really brilliant. And when we constantly see images of Buddhas or holy beings, let's say you've got does anybody have an altar at home or a picture of a Buddha or a statue or something like that at home? Yep, Carla, what have you got there?
Hold on.
We're gonna see it. Okay, cool. Ah, there we go. There's the Buddha. Hello. Nice. Thanks, Kyla. Yeah, wonderful. Andrea, you said you've got something. You don't need to show us, but you can just tell us maybe. I can't hear you. Sorry.
Sorry, they're upstairs. Yes, I have quite a big, like seated Buddha, and then I've got some smaller ones as well.
Okay. Oh, I see Elizabeth joined. Welcome, Elizabeth. Sorry, I missed you there. Let's see. Elizabeth's throwing something in the chat there. Buddha poster and a statue and a candle holder. That's awesome. Agi, you got anything in your house maybe? Not yet? Okay, no worries. Kegs?
Yes, I have a Buddha in the center, and then I've got a green Tara and a white Tara on either side, and then a picture of one of my teachers. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. And, Steve? Can't hear you.
Unfortunately, Mark, no, I don't have anything right now.
Okay. I'm sure I saw Buddhas in your house the last time I was there.
Yeah, it's mostly my wife's things, Mark. Yeah, so
Okay.
but nothing personal of mine.
Okay. Maybe I'll just show you my messy house. So I have this tanka which I love. This is Vajrasattva, and that's a Buddha practice that I do. And then I've got the shrine that I've set up here. As you can see, here's my Buddha. I used to have nice Buddha statues, but I gave them all to my ex-wife in the divorce. I even have like statue of Mother Mary, as you can see, in Jesus. Because as I said, and there's my teacher, Geshe Michael, and my other teacher, Lama Sumati, he became a monk. And I've got my candle burning, and I've got these water bowls, right? All these water bowls here. Can you see them? And here's my incense burner just behind it. And that's my shrine. And I think next week we'll go into how to set up an altar and the sort of purpose of having water bowls. What does that mean? Why water bowls? So you don't have to set up an altar or a shrine, but the thing is, if you see these images regularly, what it does is it imprints in your mind. Okay, so everything is imprinting your mind. Everything you look at, every time you turn on the news, it's imprinting your mind. Okay, and it's creating karma. Every time you have a thought, you are creating karma. Okay, and that is how karma works. I mean, the definition of karma is movement of the mind and what it motivates. So you first have thoughts, and then it might turn into words, and it might turn into actions. And then that creates more similar thoughts, similar words, and similar actions. And when we pass on from this life, the only thing we take with us is our karma. We don't take our name, we don't take our bodies, we don't take anything else but the things that we've imprinted in our consciousness. So that's why it's cool to have images in your space of holy beings that you would like to see from life to life and that you feel an affinity towards. And eventually you'll be enlightened with them. Okay. So yeah, it's nice. It's really cool. Like books, maybe on YouTube, you can put like Buddhist chanting on. If you feel an affinity to Buddhism, that is, you could listen to chanting during the day. It's very good for your pets, by the way. So if you play like Om Mani Padme Hum, which is a chanting thing, and when your dog hears it, there's imprints, okay, in the dog's mind to be reborn in an environment where there is the mantra that they will hear, okay? So in Buddhism, they think it's a good idea to try and be reborn as a human being, because we can study, we can learn, we can grow, and dogs and animals. Domestic animals are very lucky, but the majority of animals are just trying to like avoid being eaten, so they're always afraid, whereas humans are not as afraid as animals. That's why the animal realm is not considered to be a fortunate realm to be born into, because most of the time in animal realms, they're just really terrified and trying to just find food and survive. But humans, yeah, we're trying to survive as well, but I mean, we have also leisure and fortune to meditate, to do yoga, to practice spiritual arts. Although you never know, your dog could be a Buddha too, according to the tantric teachings of Buddhism. So that's also possible. Your cat could be a Buddha. That's very possible, okay? You've got to start thinking that there could be Buddhas all around you. And that is the Vajrayana, that is the tantric form of Asian classics wisdom. Whereas the Sutrayana or the sort of introductory schools to Buddhism, they don't teach that. They don't, that's not their mind state. So that's fine. It's fine. Elizabeth's putting something in there. Oh, wow. Cool. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. Lovely. And I love the paintings. Yeah, Aggie, do you have any recommendations that I can try for my stressed dog and me? I'll send you something on the group, okay? Something from YouTube. Om Mani Padme Hum is a very famous mantra that you can chant. There's another mantra, very, very interesting mantra, very easy mantra. Anyway, before I get into that, so if you study Dharma, if you study whatever you study, that stuff's going to come back to you in your next life. For example, my teacher says, if you're attracted to yoga, it's not an accident, right? It's not like you walked past Craighall shopping center and you saw a random sign and you thought, oh, okay, that looks cool. Like, why didn't you get into something else like Pilates or bodybuilding or CrossFit or running or, whatever? Why was it yoga? Okay. Because you have the seeds for it. You heard, what's that chant? Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. And then all of a sudden you were like, wow. And you don't know why you went, wow. Okay. And it's because you remember the chant. It's because there's a part of you that actually resonates because you've said it many times, because you've practiced those asana many times before. All right. It's the same as human beings that come into this world, and they come into this world as murderers, as terrorists, as killers. They came into this life because of their karma of killing and torture and anger from a previous life. And that's what makes them who they are in this life, you see? So the more we cultivate kindness and generosity and spirituality, the more we'll keep coming back to those places and situations. There's a wonderful, very scholastic teacher. I don't resonate with him. I'm a nerd, but I'm not that much of a nerd. But Alexander Berzin is a proper nerd. I'll put his name in the chat if you want to. I don't know his website, Alexander Berzin. I mean, his detail is incredible when it comes to Buddhism. He's built like the biggest Buddhist website you can imagine. I don't even know what the name of it is. And people said, Alex, why did you build this website? Like, how did you compile all this information? And why did you do it? And it's years and years of work. And he said, well, I did it for me, actually, because I've got such a deep karmic connection to my website, because I work on it every day, that when I die, I'll probably come back to it. I'll probably be the kid that takes over my own website one day, that I created in the previous life. So yeah, I mean, that's a good Buddhist understanding, is that whatever work you do in the spiritual sense is not forgotten and is not lost. Everything is recorded in your consciousness. Okay. All right. Are there any questions around this? Any comments? Andrea?
I just have a comment. When you mentioned that anything that you see imprints on your mind, and what I've been doing for a number of years now, which I believe helps me. I mean, as I say, like some people might decide not to do it, but it's definitely helped me, is to not expose myself to any media, because I just feel that there's so much negativity, and there's so much, stuff that I can't deal with. And that actually just causes a massive amount of overwhelm and anxiety in myself. And I can't do anything about it necessarily. So, like I have a fair idea in terms of what is kind of happening, based on potentially things that maybe pop through on my social media, but I purposely don't expose myself to any media. And I feel that's completely helped me. And it's been a number of years now. So yeah, I just thought I'd share.
Yeah, thank you. Does anybody else want to build on that or comment on that approach?
Yeah, so I've actually, so now I think it happened, when was it? Yesterday morning. I decided I'm going to take a 2-month hiatus for November and December from media and social media. And I've deleted all of the apps off of my phone.
Okay.
And one thing I've noticed, even just over one day, was my drop in anxiety, but
Yeah.
also my drop in like rushing thoughts.
Sure.
Like, the busyness of the mind, which is strange because I was diagnosed with ADHD as a child. So I just thought that it's always there. And now that I'm just like, focusing on my day-to-day life and not being involved, not checking my phone all the time. Like this morning I noticed, I was like, whoa, my mind is so like zen.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's only been one day.
Amazing. Amazing. Wow. Well done. That's amazing. Kyla, may it last. It's good to have the break, right? But you probably go dip in and out of it, but I mean, it's really good to have a break. So thanks. Yeah. Any other comments or stories around that? Yeah. So I've got very involved with the news. I'm fascinated by it. I went to the army and I'm very interested in military tactical stuff. For me, it actually is fascinating, but that's my karma. So I've got karma for military stuff, like I get excited when I see a semi-automatic rifle, a machine gun, a handgun, military weapons, etc., etc. Now, I mean, does that make me a bad person? It's just my karma, right? I don't own a gun. I'm trying to not entertain that. I don't think it's a good idea to own a weapon, but there's a part of me that thinks, well, it doesn't matter anyway, but it does. I don't know. So my ex-wife, Marloes, was like, I always used to have these debates with her that we should get a weapon. And she was always saying, no, I'm a yogi. We will not have any weapons in the house, So I don't condone violence. I don't support violence. I'm just interested in the whole story. It's almost like a story. And I'm thinking that I should try what you guys are doing for a while. And I think I'm going to give that a good. I've really tried not to watch CNN the last couple of days, and my mind has been terribly disturbed by what's going on in the Middle East. I'm just completely. But the problem is, it's spilling over into our world. For example, my business partner is Jewish. He's created these padel courts all over. And he's built some in Lenasia, and now his business partners are pulled out of the deal that he's put a lot of money in just because he's Jewish, So he's affected, like it's right on our doorstep, a lot of the stuff, which is quite sad. And then you wonder why, what's going on? Why are they being like this? And then you're drawn back into the news to find out what the hell's going on. So if it starts to affect you directly. But yes, it does create a karma for more. My son watches horror movies. I'm also fascinated by scary movies, right? And is it a good thing? Are we imprinting horror into our future reality? It's quite possibly so. Now, there's another way. Yeah, Agi.
I'm just wondering about that, the imprinting horror part, or is it just a more safe way to explore that part of our psyche, where we're in the safety of our living room and we go down that dark rabbit hole and we can explore it without doing any damage?
Great point. And I was waiting for someone to say something like that. Thank you. Yeah, so in the tantric system of Buddhism, the yogis would meditate on rotting corpses in a charnel ground. That's pretty horrific. Okay, you can look it up. It's true. Why do they do that? Well, it's part of their practice to sit literally on top of death, on top of impermanence, to realize that the body is a decaying meat cage and there's nothing worth holding on to. Okay, so a lot of the tantric deities are demonic. They have these terrible, wrathful paintings that are scary. I mean, when I was in Nepal, I went into the one temple and they got this room called the Mahakala room, and you go in there and it's like, oh my God, like I thought this is Gothic next level. You know, it was skulls and blood and monsters and, you know, ancient stuff that they created a room out of. I mean, Hardy-Dars are terrifying. It depends on your motivation. You know, if you, like, let's say, for example, you're going to watch a horror movie and you're going to think to yourself, am I watching this for entertainment, or am I watching this to do some shadow work or to face my fears or to learn something? Maybe there's a message in this. I mean, gosh, I took my son to see Talk to Me. I don't know if anyone's heard of this show on at the moment. It is terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. But then the whole program is around spirits and ghosts and demons and entities. And then you start to think, well, yeah, okay, I can get my head around the fact that there are these realms. It reminds you that there are these realms, that there are hellish realms, that there are different realms, there are ghost realms, etc., which is part of Buddhism, to contemplate and to imagine what it's like in hell and what it's like to be a ghost, because those are realms you don't want to be born into, right? So it could be a reminder of what your karma could send you to, right, Agi? So that can also, but I hear what you're saying. Like, I could watch the news and think, God, these people are, being tortured. It's terrible. I can take that into my meditation and I can do Tonglen or a loving kindness practice for the Middle East. And then I'm really using that well. And then I have a purpose for watching the news. But if I'm just watching the news for news sake, and it's just sort of planting seeds of violence that I'm not doing anything with, then that's a problem. Okay? Elizabeth is saying it's a release from a reality unexplained and unseen. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Any other comments on that? It's quite an interesting topic, isn't it, Andrea?
So I think just to go to my original point, and what you've just said now, I think what's been useful for me is to also know myself better, or get to know myself better. I think, before I maybe was conscious and aware that the news was potentially having that level of effect on my anxiety, like I would very happily consume the news, potentially because I wasn't conscious about it. And I think, obviously, as you said, like different things work for different people. Some people can watch the news no problem, but I think it's very much about getting to know what does or doesn't work for you. The same thing for me. Like, if I go into a situation that potentially could cause a level of anxiety for me, I'll still go. Like, I won't, sort of not necessarily go. I mean, it could be going to, say, for example, a very busy space, for argument's sake. I'll still go, but then what I'll do afterwards is I'll be quite mindful about, kind of cleansing and kind of protecting my energy and recalibrating myself, to kind of get into a positive space, which is something that I've never previously done. And that's also helped me, because I think it's so easy in the world where things just go on and go on, to just permanently keep going. And at some point, I believe it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, it will, and it does. And you're right. The problem with our world is that there's too much going on. You think about, like, I don't know, 130 years ago, nobody knew what the hell was going on in the Middle East. Like, you're living in Durban or whatever. Like, you don't know what's going on unless you've got someone sends you a letter or something from there. But now you just turn it on and boom, there it is. You didn't know what was going on in Ukraine or Russia or anywhere, but now you know everything. So it's just too much, right? And actually, it's almost like a good karma, because we are, if you think about it, I mean, the ancient yogis would say in the future, human beings will be able to fly. And this is in the yoga texts, right? We'll be able to fly. We'll be omniscient, which means we'll know everything. And we can. I mean, we can book a flight anywhere in the world. And you got your phone. I mean, whatever you want to know about anything, you know. Is that a mistake? Is that random? No, it's your karma. You have created the karma to know anything you want to, which is different to the karma that your, let's say there's some people in the world that don't have smartphones or access to the internet. They don't have the karma to know anything that they want to know. But you do. That's quite a remarkable karma if you think about it. You know, in all space and time, you go back into history, humans never had that type of karma. But you do. We do. Whatever you want to know, right? Yeah, there's fake news and all that shit as well, but you can find reliable sources. I think that's the problem, is that we've got so much information that we're like, well, what is real and what is true in this day and age? And that's why I stress taking refuge in a lineage, especially today, in our day and age, because there's a lot of rubbish. There's a lot of rubbish out there, even in the yoga studios. I'd say 80% of the yoga studios in Johannesburg are not teaching authentic yoga. I'm pretty much sure of that. It's watered. It's got new age sort of influences. Okay. So much so that information science, let's see, is a field. Is it really? Wow. Amazing, eh? Wading through the bull. It's an actual job. Argue, we also need to be aware of our mental diet. So much of what comes at us is junk, for sure. Andrea, did you want to add something?
I actually just have a question, and I think we have spoken about this before, where you said a lot of the yoga studios, you know, how do you know when a particular yoga studio, you know, is more authentic than another one? Maybe is the question, you know.
Look, there's certain things that a lot of studios teach that I've been to. I've been to a lot of yoga studios, and I've heard a lot of teachers. And I realize that the stuff they're teaching has no lineage. It has no, if you ask them, where does this come from? They don't know where it comes from. For example, and this is going to rock everybody's boat, and you might get upset with me. The idea that each chakra has a quality has no lineage. It is the most common thing that people post on Facebook. The base chakra is about security. This chakra is this chakra is that. Do you know that I sat with Michelle van Straten, who's an incredible yogini, and she's extremely learned. And I said, Michelle, Agi, you know Michelle, I mean, we did that retreat together. I said, Michelle, where does this stuff come from? I have researched the Yoga Sutras. I've researched the Hatha Yoga Pratipaka. I've studied Master Svatnarama. I can't find anywhere in the ancient Indian text where is this? She said, Mark, it's not in the text. She's traced it back to a lady called Madame Blavatsky, who was alive in the 1940s, and she started the Theosophical Society. And before that, nothing. So I'm sorry to say, but you know what? Just because everyone's talking about it doesn't mean it's accurate. You know, I mean, it's like, and I'm sorry to say, and I was doing it, I was like, teaching this chakra, that chakra. And then people were asking me questions, and I was like, okay, let me do some more research and find out where this come from. Can't find it. No lineage. So things that seem really obvious to us could be fake, could be unreal. Now, is it beneficial or is it not beneficial? It's still beneficial. I think it's nice, to think that this chakra has a quality, that chakra. It's not harmful, okay? It's actually quite a nice meditation. So God bless, if you want to keep teaching it, that's fine. Doesn't matter. I think it's beneficial. But does it come from somewhere? Does it have a lineage? Doesn't. Okay. Interesting. Carla?
Yeah, so my first question then is are there even distinctions between the chakras?
No. And they don't have a color and they don't have a shape. Chakras are actually, according to the ancient teachings, they're just blockages. They parts of the body where the two side channels twist around the central channel, and my teacher calls it chakras. They're choke points. There's nothing nice about them at all. They choke points. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've noticed that if and like this might be completely psychosomatic, but I've noticed that when I am physically like processing, do I call it a trauma? No, or a situation, I will feel it in that area. Like when I'm dealing with a lot of issues with like my family is pretty chaotic. When I'm dealing with a lot of issues with like the relationships within my family, I'll get like a very low guttural pain, which is like, root chakra stuff.
Sure.
And then when I'm dealing with like financial like anxieties, it will sit here in my solar plexus. And when my heart is sore because I'm dealing with like a love issue, it will hurt here. When I'm not speaking, when I should be speaking, it will sit here.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my connection to the distinction of the chakras.
Yeah.
So is that still not relevant?
No, that is relevant. It's all relevant. It's all relevant.
Okay. Yeah.
Elizabeth, no, definitely. But I mean, is it scriptural evidence? Is it proved?
Okay. I hear you.
Elizabeth's saying, maybe the chakras came as a vision, for sure. But my sort of angle is that an enlightened being like the Buddha never taught it. Okay, never taught it. So a Buddha knows everything, and a Buddha would have thought it would be very valuable to have taught that this chakra is this and this chakra is that. Okay, a Buddha didn't teach it. An enlightened being Jesus didn't teach it. Or you start to look in the ancient yoga systems, it wasn't taught in that way. And then you wonder, like, is it a new thing now? It can't be new. There's nothing new. I mean, our bodies are the same in the last 200,000 years. Nothing's changed. Surely this would have come up 100,000 years ago or 50,000 years ago if it was relevant and beneficial to us. And I'm sure it is. As I said, it could be beneficial. I'm just saying there's no record. And most yoga studios say this is the pith teaching of yoga. It's not. It's not. It's a new thing. It's not ancient, it's not traditional yoga. So, I mean, in a world of complete disinformation and overwhelm in terms of information, we have to take this seriously. We have to say, well, this could be costume jewelry, right? But my life is short, and I've got to think I'm not interested in costume jewelry. I'm interested in diamonds, right? Sorry, I'm just letting somebody in. Thank you. You can let them in. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My life is short, right? I don't want to spend my life teaching about the different qualities of chakras when that might be costume jewelry, which is nice, but it's not diamonds. It doesn't come from a Buddha. I want to plug into a lineage that links me directly back to the Buddha and what the Buddha was teaching. And when I talk about Buddha, I'm not talking about some Indian guy. I'm talking about, female Buddhas as well. I mean, a whole full range of Buddhism, full range of enlightened beings many Buddhas that have all been resonating and teaching the same thing. They've all been supporting each other in their teachings, and no deviation. All spot on. This is the path. And that's why in Buddhism, we practice something called the Lam Rim, which is the gradual steps to enlightenment. It's an ancient path. Do this, you do that, you do that, you do that, boom, get to enlightenment. That's interesting. So I'm sorry if I ruffled a few feathers. I normally do. And I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, investigate, guys. Don't take everything at face value. If you're going to teach something, if you're going to practice something, investigate it well, research it well. Where does this come from? It's the same as the news. We got a report today that blah, blah, blah. Okay, is it real? Or is it fake? Same thing with the pandemic. People were saying, but it's fake. Research it for yourself, figure it out, right? And then it's your karma as well, according to what you find. So if we taking care of people, if we looking after our karma, then we'll find the right information that will help us. If we hurting others, we will find the wrong information. Okay, because that's also karmic. All right, let's do a closing meditation. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. We'll just end with closing contemplation. So sitting comfortably again, and taking a nice deep breath in, and slowly breathe it out. And now let's come back to that Buddha in your heart, this beautiful, magnificent, radiant being of light. And it might even be your higher self, your future Buddha, sitting there in your heart. Light radiates out from our heart to the whole world. Wherever there's war and strife and pain, wherever others are in need of food, shelter, medicine. And we imagine we could be this for all beings. By attending this Dharma class, may the karma that I've accumulated help me to become a Buddha in this life, so that I may be able to effectively help all without any discrimination. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the highest bliss, which is without suffering. And may they come to rest in the great equanimity, which is free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. Gewa di kewo kun, sunam yeshe zozo shin, sunam yeshe le junwe, dampa kunya toba shok. May the precious and sublime awakened mind arise in those where it has not arisen, and where it has arisen, may it never wane, but continue to expand forevermore. Namaste. All right, super. Thank you, everyone, for attending class. And thanks, Steve. Thanks, Kyla, Elizabeth, and Kerry, and Andrea, and Agi for joining, and everybody else that's watching on YouTube. I'm sure I'm going to get a couple of messages from you around the chakra story. I'm sorry. I think I've just ruffled up a complete riot this week for myself. But anyway, there we go. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. I'm off to Jeremy Loops. Bye.
Thanks, Mark.
Cheers, guys.